Hi everyone, it's Peter Kraut of Silver Advisor with another episode of Paydirt Podcast. And today we're going to really do something very different and special. I'm really excited to present to you the newest member of our team, Ted Butler. Ted is now a senior analyst with the Silver Advisor after a few years of researching and writing for other prestigious publications. And I just want to say, Ted, welcome and thanks for being here today.
Thanks for having me, Peter. Really, I remember we met back in Las Vegas at the Silver Symposium. I think we were already in touch on LinkedIn prior to that, but I listened to your book, Great Silver Bull, and now we're finally doing this in this full circle moment. So I'm really grateful for the opportunity and looking forward to the value that we're going to create for our subscribers.
Absolutely. I'm really excited about this. And, you know, you joining the Silver Advisor is really big news for me, but I think for subscribers as well. And since I've been wanting to work more closely with you for some time, this is, I'm going to say honestly, a special moment for me. And just you gave me your first thoughts. Um, Ted, really, what I want to jump into is to get people to know you better, our subscribers, our followers to know you better. So you have a remarkable story, and when you first told me that story, I thought this was so compelling. People needed to know it, understand it, and realize what led to where you are now. So I'm just going to say you completed a bachelor's degree in international business in 2022. I think you reached out to me probably shortly after that or right around that time. And then you started a master's in finance. And I'm going to let you take the story from there because it really is pretty interesting.
Yeah, no, thank you, Peter. I appreciate it. Yeah, so I began my master's in finance with the vision of becoming a financial advisor. That was plan A. But then I quickly began to question the foundations of what I was being taught, which was essentially the 60/40 stock bond portfolio. Both at university and in the wealth management firm that I was working at the time, that formula was treated almost like sacred, something that is designed to be the perfect allocation. But actually, in the meantime, gold and silver being shunned as these taboo assets or ridiculed as these pet rocks. And when I dug into the historical data and compared that portfolio to the performance of silver and gold, especially during periods of monetary instability, I basically started to smell that something wasn't quite right. And that sparked something in me. I took that upon myself to study monetary history, not just from the textbooks, but from primary sources, Austrian economists like von Mises, yourself, Jeff Clark, David Morgan, all these different thought leaders. And the more I learned, the more it convinced me that gold and silver were not just underrepresented in modern portfolios, but they were almost incentivized to be excluded because of the different incentive structures that govern the financial system that we operate within today. So essentially, Peter, as you know, I made the decision to drop out of the master's program back in, I think it was December 2023. I
So
knew at
so
that
that's
time that,
sorry, Ted, I have to interrupt because that's important. I want people to hear that. Maybe you can repeat it. What your own research and what your readings and your own analysis, what conclusion it led you to and major decision that you took because of it.
well, I suppose it was just educating myself on the history of the monetary system, looking at the debasement throughout all the different empires, and looking at how the golden thread, if you will, was gold and silver throughout all these empires. And there's always a return to that, a return to sound money. And we've veered very, very far away from that today in the current monetary system that we operate upon today. And I just essentially realized, Peter, that I couldn't fulfill my mission as a financial advisor in that system, and that instead it would be better for me to be outside of it. Because at the end of the day, how could I be a financial advisor whose very job is to manage a client's money and fulfill the fiduciary obligations to the client without allocating to the asset that has been money for 5,000 years? It would be contradictory to say so. So I decided to become a sound money advocate and subsequently a precious metals analyst, and that's how we got here today.
Wow. I mean, that really is very inspiring, I have to say. And for you to be willing to leave a master's degree in finance, you must have really been quite compelled. and probably as not only leaving that degree, but then what it would have led to, which, as you said, probably likely a lucrative career as a financial advisor. So I have to ask you, Ted, what sort of triggered? Was there something specific? Did you read something? Did you watch certain videos or something like that? That because that you're needless to say you're considerably younger than I am, and you're the younger generations are certainly very tuned into social media and so on. And so I'm wondering if was there something specific like that that would have triggered your interest in gold and silver, some kind of YouTube videos or book or something along those lines.
Sure, yeah. I mean, you hit the nail on the head. It was the Secrets of Money series, which is Mike Maloney's series that was created about 10 years ago. And you're right, Peter. I'm 24 years old. The majority of my generation has gone down the crypto route and enjoyed some probably lucrative returns as well in doing so. But I was drawn to the Secrets of Money series because it just came up on my YouTube. It just came up on my algorithm. So perhaps it's fate, perhaps it's destiny, I don't know. But essentially, the big lesson that I learned from that first episode was that the money we use today is currency, and that's differentiated from what real sound money is, which is gold and silver. And for me, should be a medium of exchange, a unit of account, portable, fungible, divisible, tangible as well, and durable. And all of these things for me are the defining characteristics of what money should be and what it has been for so many years. So you can look at things like Bitcoin, which is probably the better of the crypto pack, and the rest of crypto, and it's kind of like they don't have the same characteristics, so they're not kind of prepped or designed to be money as well as gold and silver have been. So yeah, it was essentially that, Peter, looking at people like yourself, Jeff Clark, Mike Maloney in his video, David Morgan, Ronnie Sturfler, and others who I felt were speaking the truth about monetary history and the truth about the unsustainability of our current monetary system. And naturally, I gravitate towards that and essentially carve myself a path in the precious metals industry.
Well, I will say just from, these last few thoughts that you that you expressed, that you clearly get it. You've clearly taken the time to educate yourself properly on this whole sector, and to grasp it and to understand and to interpret, in fact, as well, what it means for us as we go forward. And um, these cycles come full circle, and it's very likely at some point in the next several years that we're going to see some form of hard money be reinstated. And I don't think it'll be by choice. I think it'll be by necessity. But gold, silver have the longest track records of fulfilling that role. And I think, we're likely to see some form of that come into play again at some point. What I want to point out too is that it's amazing to me how things can come full circle. You mentioned it yourself, but when you connected with me on LinkedIn about 3 years ago, you'd asked me if there was a chance for us perhaps to work together. And at the time, I'm going to say unfortunately, but maybe we wouldn't be here today the same
Exactly.
format. So you can't you can't judge these things, but I didn't have any opportunities at the time. So what I did do is I wanted to help. I made a point of referring you to others who could perhaps have some work, and that seems to me like it worked out because they did have work to offer you, and now I have the privilege of working closely with you. You've been contributing to the Ingolby Trust Report for quite a while already, several years in a row. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about how that came about and what you've been doing with them.
Sure, that'd be a great thing. Yeah. So it was actually on the back of a letter of motivation that I wrote to Ronnie Sturfler, the author of the Ingolby Trust Report. And it was actually more of an impassioned rant, to be honest with you, Peter, about, like I say, the unsustainability of the monetary system, which, by the way, when I wrote that letter at the time, the US government debt was about 31 trillion. It's now 36 trillion in the space of those 2 or 3 years. And essentially, it was my frustration with the fact that 99% of these financial advisors refuse to recommend the very hedge that protects against the risks of the financial system's instability. And after receiving that letter in February of 2023, Ronnie actually said it was the best letter of motivation that he's ever received, and he gave me a shot at writing the silver chapter, which I've since
Wow.
written for the last 3 years consecutively. I've also written a few other chapters about the capex cycle and the associated commodities super cycle, which is beginning to manifest itself today as we're seeing in the copper price, the uranium price of the last couple of years. I also wrote a couple of chapters about ESG in mining and how it's evolved since Larry Fink's um, kind of dismissal of the theme in the last couple of years, but still maintaining that it's an important thing to be conscious of the environmental, social, and governance sides of mining. Um, but really, the main bread and butter and the thing that I've become renowned for in the team is to contribute that silver chapter. And I've kind of become, I suppose, the resident silver bull at the Inglewood Trust Report. And the chapter, as you know, Peter, consists of comprehensive supply demand analysis of the silver market, all the way from solar, the industrial side, to India, jewelry, the investment side, which, despite many people thinking is dying, is still very much alive in many ways. Um, and we use the Silver Institute data for that. I'm very grateful for that and what those guys do. It's a very difficult job to produce what they do at that level of detail. So essentially, yeah, that's what I do, Peter. And you've been a great help to form those chapters as well with the insights that you've shared. So thank you as well.
Oh, well, it's been my pleasure. I'm glad to help and be part of that. I think it's a tremendous publication that, people, if they're not aware of it, the In Gold We Trust Report is considered sort of the annual Bible, really, for the precious metal sector. And if anybody, feels that because it's quite lengthy, but you
Oh
can
yeah.
go and you can read the summaries and the some of the notes and so on. But it's absolutely something I think someone should at least give an overview glance at each and every year. So Ted, you quickly carved out a niche for yourself in silver as a silver analyst, and so maybe you can tell us a little bit about what draws you to silver specifically.
Yeah, well, I think similar to you, Peter, it's probably the extent of this historical undervaluation relative to gold. I'm preaching to the choir here with what I'm going to say, but a $3,300 gold price, silver should be trading between $48 upwards $60 at least, and that would just be reverting to the mean. So beyond that, the upside in silver is very lucrative, and that obviously extends itself to silver miners, which are a leverage play on the silver price. So initially it was that, but then the more I began to dig into the silver market dynamics, the more I realized that there are further drivers here going on. So, like I said, India before, silver ETPs, the exchange traded products, made up 40% of the total retail investment in India last year. And that's 40% of the entire country's retail investment went into silver ETPs. And that was compared to just 5% for gold. So, I was talking about before how this idea that silver investment demand is dying. It's actually very much alive. It just depends where you look. Um, Other things as well, like we know, Peter, the outperformance of gold, the historical outperformance of gold by silver. If you look at the last bull market since 1967, silver's gone on to outperform 6 out of the last 8 times. So we're talking about historical probability here, and nothing's certain in financial markets, but that's sort of probability that I'm willing to put my money on in light of the ultimately the supply demand imbalance, the 5 years of supply deficits, which are equivalent to one full year of mine production. And you just can't continue doing that without there being some kind of price response. And I think we're starting to see that incubate in the silver price now as we head towards $40.
Well, frankly, Ted, based on this last these last comments that you made, I think it would be hard to argue that you don't know this sector well,
Mhm.
extremely well. And so, and based on those thoughts, would it be fair to say that you see a bright future for silver and silver stocks? And if so, can you tell viewers what you will be doing with us at Silver Advisor?
Of course, yeah, I do see a bright future for the silver price and for silver stocks. I think I'm putting my money where my mouth is. And I really do believe that this historical undervaluation will manifest itself for the silver stocks, which is why I'm working with you, Peter. I think yeah, we're going to be researching, providing more in-depth articles, doing our due diligence on the best in class silver stocks, continuing the great work that you've been doing. I'll also be doing some site visits as well, as I've already been doing in the past. Visited a silver mining company in Colombia, which we cover today, Outcrop Silver. I'm hoping to do that more where I'm based in Latin America. I'm currently in Uruguay. I'm hoping to, especially the Salta region and other regions of Latin America, I'm looking to visit and get that sort of boots on the ground experience to deepen my knowledge further. We'll be attending conferences. I'm sure we'll be seeing many of the subscribers in the coming months and years. I'll be doing interviews. Anything silver, you'll find me somewhere.
That's well, I think something that all of our viewers and subscribers can certainly look forward to. I certainly am looking forward to, all of your insights and contributions. Ted, I'd like to kind of wrap up and end this on a bit of a lighter note. Is there some kind of an anecdote or story that you can share, something from either inside or outside of precious metals that you think is relevant for the audience?
Yeah, I'm going to give you more of a quote than an anecdote, Peter, but just go with me here. So I began writing and basically doing my research on the value investing side of things, which is Warren Buffett's school, who originally learned from Benjamin Graham. And during the COVID bottoming of the stock market, that was what piqued my interest in investing, and that was when I really began to start things. And one of Warren Buffett's major quotes, one of his major placards that he likes to speak to at the interviews that he does, is to be greedy when others are fearful. And that's something that I believe it should resonate with our subscribers today when it applies to silver market. It's this idea that when other people don't see the value, the people that do see it, that small minority that do see it, stand to benefit greatly in terms of their investments as they have the courage to actually put their money where their mouth is, like I say. So I think that applies to not just the silver market, it applies to investing, it applies to life, it applies to going and taking what's yours and being determined and taking the initiative when other people might think that actually there is no opportunity. And like I say, in the past, it does pay to be a contrarian. It takes courage, but it certainly pays to be one.
Well, Ted, you've certainly proven that you're living what you preach, and and I'm really happy to see not only that it's working out for you, but also that you're now part of Silver Advisor and that you're going to contribute. And I think that everyone who's a subscriber is going to benefit tremendously from your expertise, your research, and your passion in this sector. This has been a lot of fun. Again, Ted, welcome to the Silver Advisor, and I really look forward to working a lot more with you.
Likewise, Peter, I'm very grateful to be on board and I'm looking forward to what the future holds. Thank you.